Welcome to this session on understanding constitutional authority. What if I told you that understanding just 28 words from the Constitution will give you more power to analyze government authority than most people possess? That these 28 words create a hierarchy that controls every constitutional question you'll ever encounter? By the end of this session, you'll understand the constitutional authority hierarchy, the foundation that every constitutional analysis must begin with. This isn't complex legal theory. This is the simple, powerful framework that unlocks constitutional understanding. What if I told you that understanding just 28 words from the Constitution will give you more power to analyze government authority than most people possess? That these 28 words create a hierarchy that controls every constitutional question you'll ever encounter? These words are powerful because they create a clear framework that you can use to analyze any constitutional question. The United States Constitution establishes a clear hierarchy of authority through Article V, Clause 2, the Supremacy Clause. This is the foundation that every constitutional analysis must begin with. Let me read you these 28 critical words. This Constitution, and the laws of the United States which shall be made in pursuance thereof, and all treaties made, or which shall be made, under the authority of the United States, shall be the supreme law of the land, and the judges in every state shall be bound thereby, anything in the Constitution or laws of any state to the contrary notwithstanding. Now, let me break down why these words are so powerful. These 28 words create a three-tier hierarchy that controls all government authority in the United States. Tier 1, constitutional text itself. The Constitution is the highest authority. Nothing, no federal law, no state law, no government action, can contradict it. This is the supreme law of the land. Tier 2, federal laws made in pursuance of constitutional authority. Federal laws that follow constitutional authority stand above state law. But notice that critical phrase, in pursuance thereof. We'll explore what that means in just a moment. Tier 3, state laws. State laws must comply with both the Constitution and valid federal authority. When there's a conflict, the Constitution and valid federal law win. This hierarchy isn't just legal theory, it affects you every single day. Tier 1 is the constitutional text itself. The Constitution is the highest authority. Nothing, no federal law, no state law, no government action, can contradict it. This is the supreme law of the land. Every time a police officer enforces a law, every time a court makes a decision, every time a government agency creates a regulation, this hierarchy determines whether that action is legitimate. Now here's where it gets really important. Notice the Constitution doesn't say all federal laws are supreme. It says laws made in pursuance thereof, meaning federal laws must follow constitutional authority to claim supremacy. What does this mean practically? If Congress passes a law that exceeds its constitutional authority, meaning it goes beyond the powers the Constitution actually grants to the federal government, that law is not made in pursuance of the Constitution. It doesn't get to claim supremacy over state law or individual rights. Tier 3 is state laws. State laws must comply with both the Constitution and valid federal authority. When there's a conflict, the Constitution and valid federal law win. Notice the Supremacy Clause specifically says judges in every state shall be bound thereby. This means state judges must follow the Constitution and valid federal law even when state law says something different. They take an oath to the Constitution, not just to state law. Here's the key insight. If Congress passes a law that exceeds its constitutional authority, meaning it goes beyond the powers the Constitution actually grants to the federal government, that law is not made in pursuance of the Constitution. It doesn't get to claim supremacy over state law or individual rights. Think of it this way, valid federal law equals constitutional authority exists, law follows that authority, law has supremacy. Invalid federal law equals no constitutional authority or law exceeds authority, law lacks supremacy, cannot override individual rights or state authority. This means you need to ask two questions about any federal law. First, does the Constitution actually give the federal government power in this area? Second, does the specific law stay within the boundaries of that power? If the answer to either question is no, that law doesn't have constitutional supremacy. Let's see how this hierarchy works with some simple examples. Example 1, clear constitutional authority. The Constitution gives Congress the power to establish post offices. Congress passes a law creating the U.S. Postal Service. That law was made in pursuance of constitutional authority, so it has supremacy. If a state tried to ban federal mail delivery, the Supremacy Clause means the state law fails. Example 2, constitutional limits. The Constitution does not give the federal government unlimited power over everything. It grants specific, enumerated powers. If the federal government tries to regulate something beyond those powers, the Supremacy Clause doesn't protect that action because the law wasn't made in pursuance of constitutional authority. Example 3, state judges are bound. Notice the Supremacy Clause specifically says judges in every state shall be bound thereby. This means state judges must follow the Constitution and valid federal law even when state law says something different. They take an oath to the Constitution, not just to state law. The key insight: the Supremacy Clause creates federal supremacy only when the federal government acts within constitutional boundaries. It's not a blank check for unlimited federal power, it's a framework that includes limits. You now understand the constitutional hierarchy that every single constitutional question must begin with. First, what does the Constitution itself say? Tier 1, highest authority. Second, does valid federal authority apply? Tier 2, must be in pursuance. Third, what do state laws say? Tier 3, must comply with tiers 1 and 2. This is your analytical framework. Every constitutional question you ever encounter will involve this hierarchy. And here's what makes this so powerful. Most people, including many lawyers, never learn to think this way systematically. They might know the Supremacy Clause exists, but they don't use it as their starting point for constitutional analysis. You will. In Session B of this week, you'll learn how to verify constitutional claims using primary sources, the Constitution itself, Supreme Court cases, and federal statutes. You'll develop the skill of checking whether claims about constitutional authority are actually true. But right now, in this moment, you've mastered the foundational framework, constitutional hierarchy through Article VI. This week, we're focusing exclusively on two things: understanding constitutional hierarchy and learning source verification. That's it. No distractions, no complex applications. Just mastering this foundation thoroughly. Next session, you'll learn where to find primary sources and how to verify constitutional claims yourself. By the end of week 1, you'll have the tools and framework that protect you from misinformation while building genuine constitutional understanding. These are the key constitutional principles we covered today. Article VI, Clause 2 establishes the constitutional hierarchy through the Supremacy Clause. The enumerated powers doctrine means the federal government only has the specific powers granted to it. The in pursuance requirement means federal laws must follow constitutional authority to claim supremacy. And state judges are bound by oath to uphold the Constitution and valid federal law. In the next session, you'll learn exactly how to use these primary sources to verify constitutional claims. You'll develop the skill of distinguishing reliable legal scholarship from unreliable sources. These are the authoritative sources that legal professionals use, and you'll learn to use them too. This is your analytical framework in practice. Every constitutional question starts with these steps. First, examine what the Constitution actually says. Second, determine if there's valid federal authority. This systematic approach is what separates genuine constitutional analysis from speculation. The third step evaluates state law compliance. This three-tier framework applies to every government action you encounter. Whether it's a police stop, a court decision, or a regulatory action, this hierarchy determines constitutional legitimacy. You now have the tools to analyze these questions systematically. You've completed Session A of Week 1. You now understand the constitutional hierarchy that most people never learn systematically. This is the foundation everything else builds on. The framework you learned today applies to every constitutional question you'll ever encounter. Next session, you'll learn where to find primary sources and how to verify constitutional claims yourself. By the end of Week 1, you'll have both the framework and the verification tools. Each week builds systematically on what you've mastered before. This approach develops real constitutional literacy, not just superficial familiarity with legal concepts.